Okay, this is part 28 of Nos4a2. The pantry. She grabbed the metal handle of the door and slammed it shut behind her. It was a heavy door, and it squalled as she dragged it across the floor. She had never moved such a heavy door in all her life. It had no lock of any kind. The handle was an iron U bolted to the metal surface. Vic grabbed it and set her heels apart, her feet planted on the door frame. A moment later, Mannix yanked. She buckled, was jerked forward, but locked her knees and held it shut. He eased off, then suddenly pulled again, a second time, trying to catch her napping. He had at least 70 pounds on her and those gangly orangutan arms of his, but with her feet braced against the doorframe, her arms would come out of their sockets before her legs gave. Mannix stopped pulling. Vic had an instant to look around and saw a mop with a long blue metal handle. It was just to her right within arm's reach. She pushed it through the U-shaped door latch so the mop handle was braced against the doorframe. Vic let go and stepped back, and her legs wobbled and she almost sat down. She had to lean against the washing machine to keep her feet. Mannix opened the door again, and the mop handle bashed against the frame. He paused. When he pulled at the door the next time, he did so gently, in an almost experimental way. Vic heard him cough. She thought she heard childlike whispers. Her legs shook. They shook so forcefully that she knew if she let go of the washing machine, she'd fall over. "You have got yourself in a tight spot now, you little firebug," Mannix called through the door. "Go away," she screams. "It takes a lot of brass to break into a man's house and then tell him to git," he said, but he said it with good humor. "You are scared to come out, I suppose. If you had any sense, you would be more scared to stay where you are." "Go away," she screamed again. It was all she could think to say. He coughed once more. A frantic red firelight glimmered at the bottom of the door, broken by two shadows that marked where Charlie Mannix had placed his feet. There was another moment of whispering. "Child," he said to her, "I will let this house burn without a second thought. I have other places to go, and this hidey hole has been burned for me now, one way or another. Come out, or you will smother to death in there, and no one will ever identify your burnt remains. Open the door. I will not hurt you." She leaned back against the washing machine, gripping the edge with both hands, her legs wobbling furiously, almost comically. "Pity," he said. "I would have liked to know a girl who had a vehicle of her own, one that can travel the roads of thought. Our kind is rare. We should learn from each other. Well, you will learn from me now, although I think you will not much care for the lesson. I would stay and talk longer, but it's getting a trifle warm in here. I am a man who prefers cooler climates, to be honest. I am so fond of winter I am practically one of Santa's elves." And he laughed again, that whinny shit-kicker laugh. Something turned over in the kitchen. It fell with such an enormous crash that she screamed and almost leaped up onto the washing machine. The impact shook the whole house and sent a hideous vibration through the tiles beneath her. For a moment she thought the floor might be in danger of caving in. She knew from the sound, from the weight, from the force of it, what he had done. He had gripped that big old fridge with the slopey bathtub styling and overturned it in front of the door. Vic stood a long time against the washing machine, waiting for her legs to stop shaking. She did not, at first, really believe that Mannix was gone. She felt he was waiting for her to throw herself against the door, hammering against it and pleading to be let out. She could hear the fire. She could hear things popping and cracking in the heat. The wallpaper sizzled like a crispy, fizzling sound, like someone pitching handfuls of pine needles into a campfire. Vic put her ear to the door to better hear the other room. But at the first touch of skin to metal, she jerked her hand back with a cry. The iron door was as hot as a skillet left on high heat. A dirty brown smoke began to trickle in along the left-hand edge of the door. Vic yanked the steel mop handle free, chucked it aside. She grabbed the handle, meant to give it a shove, see how far she could push it against the weight on the other side, but she let go, jumped back. The curved metal handle was as hot as the surface of the door. Vic shook her head in the air to soothe the burned feeling in her fingertips. She caught her first mouthful of smoke. It stank of melted plastic. It was so filthy smelling she choked on it, bent over coughing so hard she thought she might vomit. She turned in a circle. There was hardly space in the pantry to do more than that. Shelves, rice-a-roni, a bucket, a bottle of ammonia, a bottle of bleach, a stainless steel cabinet or drawer set into the wall, the washing machine and the dryer. There were no windows. There was no other door. Something glass exploded in the next room. Vic was aware of a gathering filminess in the air, as if she stood in a sauna. She glanced up and saw that the white plaster ceiling was blackening directly above the doorframe. She opened the dryer and found an old white fitted sheet. She tugged it out. Vic pulled it over her head and shoulders, wrapped some fabric around one hand, and tried the door. She could only barely grip the metal handle even with the sheet, and could not press her shoulder to the door for long, but Vic flung herself hard against it once and again. It shuddered and banged in the frame and opened maybe a quarter of an inch, enough to let in a gush of vile brown smoke. There was too much smoke on the other side of the door to allow her to see anything of the room, to even see flames. Vic drew back and pitched herself at the door a third time. She hit so hard she bounced, and her ankles caught in the bedsheet, and she fell sprawling. She shouted in frustration, threw off the sheet. The pantry was dirty with smoke. She reached up, gripped the washing machine with one hand and the handle of the stainless steel cabinet with the other. But as she pulled herself to her feet, the doors of the cabinet fell open, hinges whining, and she crashed back down, her knees giving out. She rested before trying again, turned her face so her brow was pressed to the cool metal of the washing machine. When she shut her eyes, she felt her mother pressing one cool hand to her fevered forehead. Vic reclaimed her feet, unsteady now. She let go of the handle of the metal cabinet, and it clamped shut on a spring. The poisonous air stung her eyes. She opened the cabinet again. It looked into a laundry chute, a dark, narrow metal shaft. Vic put her head through the opening and looked up. She saw dimly another small door, 10 or 12 feet up. He's waiting up there, she knew. But it didn't matter. Remaining in the pantry wasn't an option. She sat on the open steel door, which swung down from the wall on a pair of taut springs. Vic squirmed her upper body through the opening, pulled her legs after her, and slid into